Hey everybody, Tall Family Films here. Let me just stop and say two quick things. One is this is intended, all of my videos are intended to be a conversation. So if you have questions about anything I do, you don't understand something, tell me the point in the video that you're watching in the comments and let me know what it is you want to know, and I promise I will reply to you. Unless I end up with 6 million followers and I have 6 million comments a day, then that'll be different. But I will do my best to get back with you. The second thing is, if you are watching these videos and anybody else's videos, not just mine, and they're helpful, it helps those content providers a lot if you will subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Those are really big helps. So, all right, so today we are building pendant lights, and not just any pendant lights, but pendant lights that my wife made, and you could buy them yourself at claralane.com. All right, I told her the first commercial's free. She has to pay after that. So here you see a completed light. This is the canopy, and then there's the pendant itself. And inside the pendant, we have the light socket. Today we're using a ceramic one. There's plastic ones as well, and they come in all colors. We're going to show you how to wire that up. So we're going to start here with this brand new pendant and wire it up for you. This customer wanted black fabric cord. So for the light socket end, we need about 2 inches of cord. So there is a tool made for this, what we're doing here. It is not this little pocket knife with scissors, but I couldn't find my wire stripper, but this works just with, the point is still the same. You'll understand exactly if you have a wire stripper, it'll make your job a little bit easier. All right, so we take the outer casing out, and then there's 3 inner wires. There's a black, a white, and a green. Black is hot, white is neutral, and green is ground. All right, here is the ceramic light socket, the light socket that we're going to be using today. And this gold, they're all color coded. The gold is for the black, the hot, and the silver screw is for the white wire. And then in this case, the ground screw is dark, but sometimes they're green. But it's the green wire that attaches there. And you may be wondering why that is. Well, here is the black wire is attaching on the other side to the center pin on the light fixture. Because white wouldn't show up very well, I used blue to indicate where the white wire or the silver screw attaches to. So it's the entire outer ring of where the light bulb plugs in. So if you were to get the wires backwards on the other side, you put the black wire on the silver and you put the white wire on the gold, the light would still actually light up. But if anyone in the future went to change a light bulb and they accidentally touched this outer ring, and this has happened to me before, you would ground yourself to the hot wire, providing 120 volts to go through your body. So, doesn't feel real good. You want to make sure you get this right. It's a safety measure. I read a story where people dislocated their shoulders when they get an electric shock because they pull their hand back so quickly it dislocates their shoulder. So if it doesn't kill you, it'll dislocate your shoulder possibly, so good reasons for you to make sure you get this right for other people in the future. So now we just need to go strip the wires to take the insulation off the ends of the wires. I usually strip about 3/4 of an inch. If I cut too much, I can easily just trim the bare wire, the ends of the bare wire. But 3/4 of an inch allows me enough that I can screw all the way around the screw. Quick note on ground wire here. If your fixture doesn't have a ground wire, and some of them don't, and that's okay, don't cut the ground wire off. Do not do that. You want to just coil up the ground wire. Don't strip it, just coil it up, put some tape around the end of it, and leave it inside the wire, because the next person who ends up replacing the light fixture, they may want to use that ground wire because their fixture will have a ground screw. So you don't want to leave them with a wire that's been cut off. That gets very frustrating and it's a difficult thing for them to fix. So then we just twist all of the braided copper wires together, bend them over in a candy cane shape, and we attach them to the screws. There is a method for you doing this. So the screws tighten in a clockwise fashion. So you want the open end that you cut off the bare end of the wire to be on the right side of the screw, so that as you tighten the screw, it will pull the wire inside of it, so that, you know, underneath the screw. If you do it the opposite way, it oftentimes will just fray the wire as it goes in, or it just pushes the wire completely out. I am using this is not a blade, this is like a screwdriver tip, and I'm using it just to hold the wire in place. I'm holding it underneath the screw. This is just a method that I use that's worked well, but I use it to hold it underneath the screw, and then I take the screwdriver and tighten it down while I'm holding it in place. And sometimes it pops out a little bit and I have to stop and readjust it, but this method works pretty well to keep the wire in place while I tighten the screw so it doesn't come out. And I do the same thing with the other two wires. We just bend them over, use the knife to hold it in place, and screw them in place. Whenever I tighten anything down, any kind of electrical thing, I go ahead and pull on the wires, and I actually pull back individually on each one of these wires to make sure that they are in there where they're supposed to be and they're secure. So I actually did something wrong here. I was supposed to put on the strain relief that goes on the cord, and then I was supposed to put the top of the light fixture, which is a little metal or plastic piece that you see here. I was supposed to put those onto the cord before I put the light fixture on. Luckily, I haven't applied anything to the other end of the cord, so I'm just going to put things kind of in reverse order. I'm going to put them on from the top of the cord and slide them down. There's a strain relief built into the top of the light fixture, the lid of the light fixture, so I had to loosen that screw so that I can slide it down the cord. Sometimes the fabric on the cord makes this impossible, and you'd have to undo what I have already done and put everything on the end of the cord. If you're using a fabric cord like this, I highly suggest that you put masking tape around the edges of the fabric where you cut it off, because if you don't, the fabric starts to fray pretty badly, pretty quickly. Okay, so this is the strain relief, and it screws into the other end of the top. Let's say it screws into the lid of the light fixture, and I'm about to realize I'm putting it on wrong too. Okay, so it's upside down. Putting it on this way would really not have served me well. Luckily, I figured this out and didn't actually slide it all the way down the cord that way. It's hard when you're building things backwards from the way they normally would be done. Alright, so getting it past the masking tape is usually the hardest part. I just slide this down the cord and then the top of the strain relief. And now we have the whole thing built like we should have done it from the beginning. So you can see I should have built it in reverse order. The screw for the top of the strain relief itself, then the lid for the light fixture, and then the light fixture itself should have been screwed together. But no harm done here. Okay, so we have the strain relief that's on the cord, but you can't always use that depending on the pendants that you have. So here's a little trick. Take a tiny zip tie, like a little 4-inch zip tie. Tie it around the cables that are all going to be folded down in between the lid for the light fixture and the light fixture itself. So tighten it down as tight as you can, cut it off so it's as small as possible because space is very limited in what we're about to do here. Okay, so as we go to put these two things together, the wire is going to kind of fold up inside there. You want to make sure it doesn't get pinched anywhere around the ceramic. We want it to all fall into the gaps. And this is kind of like a small game of Tetris where you're forced to squeeze all of the wires down into these tiny little holes. If you don't use too much wire, you'll be able to make this work. So I'm just cleaning up a little bit of braided wire that I saw around here. I'm going to redo this one real quick to make sure that I've got this the way I want it. When I put the ground wire on, it frayed a little bit. And so I'm kind of a perfectionist with this type of thing. I didn't like the way the bare copper wires were exposed, so just kind of redoing that. I guess it's not bad to be a perfectionist when it comes to electricity. Okay, so that strain relief is going to be trapped down underneath the lid for the light fixture. It's going to provide very good strain relief. Kind of an emergency if all the other strain reliefs fail. This one likely won't, and no tugging or pressure will be put on those screws that we just did. All the wires, it will not allow pressure to be put on those wires so that they cannot pull themselves loose from the screw. So inside the kit, for at least for a ceramic fixture, this plastic ones are usually not made this way, but for a ceramic fixture, you'll usually find 2 screws that come in the package, and those 2 screws go down from like where the light bulb would screw into this light fixture. Those 2 screws go down inside there. There's a hole inside where the light bulb goes, and once they're screwed in all the way, the light bulb would never be able to come in contact with them. And here's the 2 screws, and we're going to put them in now. Okay, so now we take the strain relief, the professional strain relief, and we slide it down the cable, and it screws onto the lid. These things are all made to go together. All the threads match. These things, this is a very standard thing. When we're screwing this on, you want to hold the light fixture and do not let the cable twist. You want to make sure that you're only tightening the strain relief screw itself, and that the cable itself is not spinning around. We don't want to, crush up all the wires and twist them up. And then lastly, the finished piece of the strain relief just tightens right down on, and it won't twist the cable when it goes on. It has a little bit more room in it. Okay, so we're kind of to the home stretch now. We just have to do the canopy side. So we do the same thing we did the first time around. We're going to cut about 2 inches off of this cable and strip the wires. Okay, so I highly suggest that you take this time to do a test. Make sure before you package something up or assume that you've got it right, make sure you do a test of it. So I just have a 2 prong wire that came from another wire kit, and I just cut it off. When you only have 2 prongs, there's a way you can tell which one is hot and which one's neutral. The ribbed wire is neutral. And pretty much every wire on any 2-wire kit, you're going to have one that's ribbed. So the ribbed goes to the white. And then the other one goes to the black or the hot. So put a wire nut on these. You certainly don't want them touching because we're about to plug this into the wall to test it. We want to make sure that those wires don't touch, and we want to make sure that the entire light fixture that we've just put together is 100% secure with no shorts. Okay, so I plug that into power and the light works. That's great. But you want to then kind of give everything a good work over here. I'm shaking the fixture, I'm manipulating the wire back and forth, giving the light bulb a tap. I'm not pulling real hard on the wire here, I'm just making sure that there's no shorts inside this. So I feel very good if I'm gonna provide this to somebody else that I know it's 100% functional. It's not gonna harm them or blow a breaker or anything like that. I do this on every single one that I build. Okay, so now I have confidence in the light fixture. I know that it's wired correctly and wired safely. So now I just need to put it up inside the pendant light so I can put a canopy on it. Obviously that wire's unplugged when I do this. Make sure that you don't try that while it's plugged in. You will blow a breaker, or worse. Okay, so then you wire it through whatever your pendant is, and then you'll have a canopy that usually comes with all of the hardware that you need to wire it, to screw it into a junction box up in the ceiling. And all of the canopy screws, holes, all of the screws in the sides, all of the mounting holes, all of those things are all a standard size, at least on every one I've ever seen. The canopy also has strain relief built into it, and again, I don't trust that. I just put a whole lot of time and effort into the strain relief on the light fixture side, so I'm going to build strain relief, an emergency strain relief into the canopy as well. So this is the one that comes with it. It's identical to the one that's on the light fixture side. So feed the wires up. And because I don't know what the junction box for the customer is going to look like, if this were for my own house, I'd be able to do this, but I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So I feed just, the minimum amount of wire that would be needed. I feed that through and then go ahead and tighten the strain relief. And then, again, I take the same trick on this side that I used on the light fixture side. I put a 4-inch zip tie and I tighten it all the way down around the edge of the wire. Okay, right there, I just tighten it as tight as I can get it and cut it off. But because I don't know what the junction box is going to look like, the customer might have to undo that, cut that off. And so I always include a spare one in the package. If this video has helped you, you can really help me by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. It really helps a lot. Thank you very much. Leave any comments or questions you have, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.